Welcome back to the Rebuilt Parish podcast. Today on the podcast, we've got a special guest, Don Zemeski, a Rebuilt Parish coach and welcome desk minister. Today, I can't wait for you to hear some of the incredible stories Don has to share about the importance of having a welcome desk ministry in your parish. Follow along, get some great tips for what your welcome desk ministry can look like, and stay tuned for some special resources that we've got in store for you. Well, hey Don, welcome to the Rebuilt Parish podcast.
Thanks, Melissa. Really appreciate being invited.
Well, we're excited to have you here, and this is going to be fun because you're not just a Rebuilt Parish coach, but you're also a volunteer minister at Church of Nativity at the Welcome Desk. So I'm excited for everyone to hear a little bit about both of those roles.
Great. I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role as a Rebuilt coach and as a volunteer at the Welcome Desk at Church of Nativity?
Sure. I'd love to. Well, first of all, as a Rebuilt coach, I'm both a coach and a student. That's first thing. And as a coach, I attend the Rebuilt course sessions with my parish. And then I also conduct coaching sessions with the staff to help them implement what they've learned during the course sessions into their parish life. I also help them navigate the Rebuilt Parish website so they can find the content that they're looking for. And also, when needed, I help them register for the equipped courses, help find a podcast, whatever they may need. If they have questions, I'm always there to answer those questions, just about anything, and it's all done in a confidential atmosphere. And then I also make, as a coach, weekend observation visits to the parish in person and give them feedback as, for my observations, what I see, how they could improve their parish, their presentation of Mass, whatever it could be. But that comes in a visitation report that we give to the parish. Now, as a student, I take part in a continual learning process in group coach training that all of the Rebuilt coaches receive. Also take advantage of the workshops, the podcasts, the equipped courses. There's so much content that the coaches have to learn from as well as the parishes. And I also receive bi-weekly one-on-one coach training from one of the Rebuilt lead coaches. Now, as a welcome desk minister, I think it's first important you have to have an understanding that you're part of a team. And that team consists of ministers from many different ministries, all of whom are responsible for putting on a coordinated, radical hospitality for all the parishioners and especially the newcomers, so they feel welcome. And then I also get the opportunity as a welcome desk minister to have an extended conversation with newcomers and anyone else that comes to the welcome desk to inform them, to answer any questions they may have, and to welcome them to Nativity and just make them feel at home.
Well, Don, this is fun because, we brought you here to talk about Welcome Desk, but what you just did was so cool. You gave everyone a little peek behind the curtain about what makes our Rebuilt coaching so great. And that's all of the investing and pouring into that you do as a coach, but then you've also shared with us just how much learning you get to do and how much you're being poured into as a coach. So thank you for giving everyone just a little bit of that peek behind what makes our coaches so special.
Oh, you're welcome.
Now, I want to ask you, what inspired you to get involved in the Welcome Desk ministry?
Well, To answer that, I have to take a couple steps back from that ministry. My wife and I had become part of a couples small group, and so I was already growing in my faith as a result of that experience. So that later, when we were asked as a couple to join a ministry for what's called the Next Steps kiosk, and that's a kiosk that helps existing parishioners take their first or next step into ministry and serving in the parish. From there, it was probably a couple years later when Nativity introduced the welcome desk, and we were asked to shift from the Next Desk kiosk to the welcome desk kiosk. So we just changed locations in the concourse in the church.
Well, here's a question for you that I think I know how this is going to go. But can you describe what a typical shift looks like for you at the welcome desk?
Well, the shift for the welcome desk starts out as it does for every ministry, and that is in the minister's suite, where all the ministries huddle beforehand and get their instructions from their lead for their particular ministry, and also to pray together in the huddle. We also share wins from the previous week that occurred and we observed during our service time. Typically, we try to have 2 to 4 ministers at the welcome desk, depending on the time of the Mass and how crowded, how much the attendance is expected to be. We get to our stations about 15 minutes before the Mass and stay anywhere from 15 minutes to, I've stayed 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how many people come to the desk and whether we give a tour or not. If the guest comes to the welcome desk prior to Mass, they typically are going to want to know about the kids programs, if they can drop their kids off, or what the kids programs are that are offered, or seating, what the seating is like, and we try to take the advantage of that time with them to welcome them, but to answer their questions and get them seated and ready for worship. If there's a welcome desk gift, then that's an added enticement to come back. We invite them to come back after Mass to learn more about the parish. During Mass, one minister is asked to remain behind the welcome desk in case there are people that come up during the Mass time that have a question or need some type of help. So we always have the desk manned at that point in time. But we're always on the lookout for newcomers. They're the people we want to welcome, newcomers to the parish. Now, if a visitor comes after the Mass, it's kind of understood that they would not be approaching the welcome desk after Mass if they didn't like what they saw or heard. So it's very important that the minister serving have a detailed knowledge of the parish, the history, what the mission and vision is, what the programs are offered, Mass times, etc., and that be acquainted with all of the handouts that we can give the people that are coming to the desk, that will tell them more about the parish and help them go deeper into the website and find out more information about the parish. The main thing is you want to ask them for their story. You want to ask them questions and ask if they have any further questions about the parish that we can help them with.
Oh, that's so good. And what are some of those common questions or needs that people come to you with at the welcome desk?
How do I apply to become a member? Is the first question. But they will also ask about the children's programs. They'll ask about Mass times. They may ask about the parish's position on certain issues, which the only position that Nativity has is that all are welcome. We don't take a position on anything else. And if there are questions about canonical issues, which we are not qualified to answer, we will find an answer for them or find somebody. If they need, we have people approach that need just someone to listen to them. They may need prayer. They may ask for prayer, and we either do that ourselves or we find someone from the member care unit or team that's serving at during that mass time, and get them together so they can help them.
That's so good. Well, how do you approach welcoming those new visitors that are coming to the parish for the first time?
I like to approach it as that they are much appreciated and anticipated and welcome guests to my home, because this is my home. And I try to make them feel that their presence is an honor to me, that they would come and visit. Uh, you know, it's important to get their story. Why did they walk through our door? And then what are they looking for? What are they in search of? So we can see and if Nativity is a good fit for them. But then to, just to make sure that we answer all their questions. But, with all that said, this isn't a sales pitch. We're not trying to sell them on Nativity. We let the experience that they have in walking through our door and being welcomed from the time they park their car, to the host ministers, to the welcome desk, to the mass with the message ministers and music. And then further, if they come back to the welcome desk, answering their questions, taking them tours of the campus. If it's a good fit for them, that's what we want. We want people to find the best fit for their needs, their spiritual needs.
Right. I love that when you said how you want them to feel welcomed, like you're welcoming them into your home. And that's so important because we know that it takes a lot of courage to walk into a new church. We also know that it takes a lot of courage to walk up to a stranger, even if they're behind a welcome desk. So by you making them feel that level of welcome, that's just some incredible hospitality right there. So, Don, what would you say is one of the most rewarding aspects of volunteering at the welcome desk?
There are really so many, but the stories are the best part. The stories that we hear are just, heartwarming and heart wrenching, but there are some really unforgettable stories. So, and each of the ministers has their share of those. But I love hearing the reactions of the people when they walk out of Mass, come to the welcome desk, and tell us about what they got out of the Mass. How they were fed, what they thought of the message, what they thought of the music, the welcoming atmosphere. And as I said, hearing the stories of people that are visiting Nativity that joined us during COVID. There are hundreds of people, thousands of people around the country that Nativity was their parish when the churches were all closed down. And some of them, when they get a chance to visit this part of the country, and we've had people from as far away as California, want to come and to experience it in person. So those are great stories. And then being able to take the newcomers on a tour of the campus, just show them, how we transition from the old to the new, what the stories are behind both. Really, there's so many stories. But it's important to understand that there's a reason they came. They're searching, for something. And that we want to make sure we find out, or we can discern what that reason is that they're searching. Are they brand new to the neighborhood, and this is the closest church? Are they in search of something that they're not getting at their existing church? Are they new parents that want to get their kids involved in the kids programs? And the list just goes on and on. With the reasons that they came through our door. And it's important that we discern what those reasons are, in helping them determine whether or not this is the right home for them. And helping them in that search is rewarding in and of itself.
Well, Don, you mentioned that hearing the stories are one of the best parts of serving at the welcome desk. And I know that you've got some memorable ones. Can you please share your most memorable welcome desk story?
Sure, sure. For me, and this is something that happened almost 3 years ago now, but it's just, I'll always have this as my most memorable. My wife and I were serving at the welcome desk with another rebuilt coach, David, in November of 2021. And, I looked up and there was this man approaching the desk, and he was about 20 feet away at the time, but he was bent over. He was crying. He was clutching this pink plastic rosary. And he just, came up to the desk and started telling me that had just gotten out of a cancer treatment center at the University of Maryland Hospital for some experimental treatment, and was given 3 months to live. His name was James. Okay. So after talking to him, and I had to lean over just to hear him because his voice, he was just, he was disheveled. He was, in fact, a homeless person. He said that when he got out of the hospital, he had spent from Wednesday through Saturday sleeping on the bench in the bus station because he was afraid of going to a shelter because his immunity was so low after the treatments. So my wife and I took him to a private spot, or on the campus where we could pray for him, pray over him. And I knew we needed to get him an anointing, so I went and unfortunately, Father Michael and Father Nicholas had left the campus, but I did find one of our prayer ministers, Jackie, in the concourse, and took her to meet James. James, we continued to tell Jackie and I his story, and one of the things he told us is that he was a survivor of the 9/11 attacks on the Twin Towers. He was one of the firemen that went in to bring people out, and he was part of a crew of 9, and he was one of 2 that survived. And since that time, he had undergone 15 or to 20 operations from the effects of that experience. And he also showed us a miraculous medal that he was wearing that he said Father Michael had given all the firefighters. And later, when I was doing some research, I found out that Father Michael was Father Michael Judge. And Father Michael Judge was the chaplain of the New York Fire Department and was the first recorded victim of the 9/11 attacks. He was the first person they brought out of the South Tower. James, by the time we finished praying for James, he was a new person. He was like a foot taller, smiling. But he said he wanted to go back to where he had been living, which was Oklahoma. But he didn't have any money. So we took care of the money issues, and got him some food, got him some extra money for meals. And then I drove him to the bus station, dropped him off, and wished him the best. But he was, and later, Jackie told me that it was the closest thing she had ever had at that point to a Jesus experience. It just touched us. And I got to add one more because it's just this past weekend, because this happens often. A young mom came up to the welcome desk with her family, and she told me, "I'm not sure if this is the right place, but I'd really like to get prayer." And it just so happens that one of our member care ministers was asked to serve at the welcome desk that day in case someone needed prayer. So God works in mysterious ways, right?
Right.
So we took her to a more private spot, and Jen and I prayed over her because she said that she had was suffering from postpartum depression from a recent childbirth and a lot of anxiety over whether or not she was going to be able to take care of this family now. So we prayed over her, and she was just lifted up. She was had told us that there was just a tremendous weight lifted off of her shoulders at the end, by the end of that. So.
Wow.
So yeah, the stories are there, and you just have to open your arms and welcome these people.
Oh my goodness. Well, Don, both of these stories are incredible, and I had two questions planned that I wanted to ask right after this, and you've answered them right within here. So one of them is, how does the welcome desk contribute to the overall vision and mission? And I feel like this is a part of it. And we can still answer this one, but also, one question that I wanted to ask was, how do you see it making a difference in the lives of parishioners and newcomers? And right there, that's it, helping them, ministering to them, giving them that prayer and praying over them. That's incredible, the difference you've made on those lives.
Well, yeah, yeah. The welcome desk, as I said earlier, I mean it's one piece of the welcoming, yeah, at Nativity, and so it's for the radical hospitality, and that fits into the weekend experience anchor. It's a big
Right.
piece of that. It's also, we're welcoming newcomers, so it's a piece of the growing wider anchor as well. And as far as how it's making a difference, it makes a difference for existing parishioners because probably a third to a half of the newcomers that come to the welcome desk are brought or sent there by existing parishioners who had invited them to Mass. So it helps give them the assurance that if they invite someone, the people are going to feel welcome, they're going to be there, and they're going to be cared for.
Right.
As far as the newcomer in search of a new home or just a one weekend where they're out of town and they needed a church, just being part of that welcoming experience might help them either lift them up one time or welcome them into a new home. Our welcome desk coordinator, Betty, had a great quote this past week. She said that the welcome desk is a unique place in our community where a person can approach as a stranger and leave as a cherished part of our family.
Yes.
So that kind of says it all right there.
It really does. It really does. They do become a cherished part of their family. Those two stories right there show how even though they're not, the one isn't even in the parish, but they do become a part of the family. That's incredible. Now, Don, so I know that you and your wife Dottie also help coach other rebuilt parishes. So I'd love to know, what are some of those key elements that make a welcome desk ministry successful in other parishes?
Okay. Well, what we want, first of all, and it's very important as rebuild coaches that we, because these parishes see the way Nativity operates and looks, they visit, and the first in any type of coaching we do is to get the temperature of the parish and a handle on where they are in developing their ministries, and using the welcome desk as an example, and then to let them know that we've been doing this for years.
Right.
Don't expect to be Nativity overnight. We're still learning, we're still evolving, and but let us give you some ideas, and you take those pieces that your existing resources can fulfill and implement those. Implement those pieces that you feel work for your parish. And then as your ministry evolves, then, if there are other ideas that we can help you with, put those pieces in place that you think are going to work. We also, just by relating our experience, we help them see the importance of having a welcome desk. Then we have a lot of informational handouts at our welcome desk, and we always supply those parishes with what the documents and the information that we hand out at ours, not so they can hand out the same ones, but they can get ideas so they can develop their own for their parish. And then it's very important to have a process for different situations and the follow up with first time visitors. How do you handle different situations and then we have to have a process. How are we going to keep in touch with these people? So it's very important that the welcome desk have a means to do that, and that is to get their name, email address, and mobile phone number at the very least, so we can keep communicating with them and answer any questions they have, send them information, and just make them feel appreciated for having come to Nativity, and welcome if they would like to come back to Nativity. So with that, it's important because they're going to have questions, and you have to have ministers. You have to be able to identify people in your parish that have an in-depth knowledge of the parish. What's the parish's history? What's the mission and vision? What programs are available? To let these people know what the parish offers and to see if it's a good fit for them. And I mentioned the follow-up process, and then just the logistics. One of the things that it seems to slip through the cracks is, where are you going to place your welcome desk?
Right.
Is it in the, are they going to see it, or is it going to be a forgotten place? It's got to be in a very well-traveled path between the front door and the sanctuary. So,
Right.
they know that it's there, and they feel welcome to come in and ask questions and get more information about the parish.
Right. Thank you. Well, can you share any success stories you've had from any of the parishes that you've coached?
Sure. Yeah, as you mentioned, my wife Dottie and I have coached two parishes so far. Both parishes have instituted welcome desks or information desks, and they've both reported back to us, and we've visited both parishes, and they are successful, and they've helped inform people and to bring new people into the parish. The pastor at our first parish that we coached was transferred to a different parish, and one of the first things he did when he got to the new parish was start up a welcome desk.
I love that.
And then I thought one of the great ideas that our current parish had, and we got to see this in person when we did our visitation this summer, was that they put screens up over the welcome desk at both their campuses, and the screens have a continual scroll of important parish information. So anybody visiting the welcome desk, if they're not getting it directly from the minister, they can look up and just learn more and more about the parish.
That's so good. I love that one because that's a low hanging fruit, right? That does not take a lot of effort, that does not take a huge expense, and it does not take a ton of maintenance. It's just a little bit of maintenance each week updating that. But that does just make it so simple for everyone to just know what's going on from that continual scroll of what's coming up on that screen. Well, Don, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us about the Welcome Desk today. Is there anything else you'd like to share or any rebuilt resources that you'd like to recommend?
Well, I'm going to pat you on the back and toot your horn, because I think the podcasts that you are doing are incredible.
Oh, thank
And
you, Don.
for anyone watching this, if Rebuilt Parish podcasts on Google or YouTube, I should say, and just go through them. I think, what are you up to? About 20 now since
Yes,
you started it back up?
yes. We're just over 20 episodes now. Yes.
Yeah. It's a great way you're getting a summary of what is offered with Rebuilt, with an incredible amount of information in a very short time, 45 minutes or so, to really give you the flavor, but some really valuable information. You know, there's so much content, there's so much that's available with Rebuilt that. But that's a great way to start. It's a great way to just go online and see what can be offered, or what is offered, I should say.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, Don, so much. I appreciate all of your kind words. The podcast is a free resource that is out there for anyone who is interested in making some positive changes in your parish. If I also may, I want to share a couple of other resources we've got for you. So, this fall, we have a brand new on demand course launching, and it is called Every Member a Minister. And it is here to help parish leaders build volunteer ministry systems. So, for more information on that, check out our show notes. We've got some more info there. The course is led by Tom Corcoran, our president, and he just does an incredible job of walking you through exactly how to build these volunteer ministries as a system. Also coming up for you, this coming up here is a free resource, so get ready. Our workshops relaunch this fall, and the very first session, the first series of these workshops are all about volunteer ministries, and it's really about recruiting volunteer ministers. So bring your team, register at the link I'm including in the show notes. You can also go to rebuiltparish.com/workshops to get out some more info for that one. And we have another free resource for you. We're just piling them on today, Don, with free resources. We've got a free ministry evaluation for you where you can download this resource and take this evaluation with your team and discuss how you're doing as a parish in regards to ministry, and then work together on building an action plan. And you can access that free resource from the link in the show notes today, or by going to rebuiltparish.com/ministry evaluation. Well, Don, thank you again so much for joining us today. We're so grateful that everyone got to learn from you and learn how they can start a welcome desk ministry at their parish.
Thank you, Melissa. Really appreciate being asked and being able to share with the Rebuilt community.
You did a great job. Those stories were tearjerkers, and I just know that they will help inspire parish leaders to start their own welcome desk ministry. And I want to thank our Rebuilt Parish community out there for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you next time.